Hi, this is your Badass Bookworm, Cassandra Dallett, and today I have a friend and poet, Damali Robertson. Damali was on the podcast once before with our mutual friend, Hillary Hayes. But today we're going to focus on her book of poetry that came out about a year ago, right?
Yeah, it's been about a year.
Been about a year because I think I was on vacation, and that's why I missed the book release. But the book is called Love, Loss, Healing, and Brawta. Can you tell us, first of all, what Brawta means for people who don't know? And
Yeah,
maybe I'm not saying it right.
oh, you said it perfectly. Brawta with just a little extra Jamaican lilt to it.
Right.
It's just extra and bonus. And so because when I was putting the book together, I saw some really clear things like love and loss and healing are all things that I cover really carefully. But the Brawta was like a little extra tribute to my grandmother, who is my inspiration for writing poetry in the first place. And so I was like, well, let's make it connect through a little bonus.
Nice. I like how your little patois starts peeking through there.
Yeah,
You
it
talk
comes
about your
out.
grandma. So yeah, I feel like when I first met you was probably, was it 6 months before?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And you said, oh, I've been writing for a long time and starting to put it together into a manuscript at that point, I think.
Uh-huh.
And
That's
then
right.
you
Good
did
man.
it. You whipped it up.
I did. And you know what's interesting about the process is that when I mentioned it to you, I had that kind of like, I think I'm gonna get it done. And just being in your space too, seeing all the books and all the books with your name on it felt really inspiring in that moment because I was like, this is something I've dreamed of doing. And it's that moment where you question yourself, is it good enough? Am I good enough? What kind of poet? What am I trying to do? But it was just clear. And I was so proud when I finally did it because I've been talking about it for a long time.
Yeah, it's such a good feeling to have your work in a book.
Yes.
And how did the book release that I missed unfortunately go? And how has the year been? Um,
It's really good. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead. This,
Okay. Yeah, it was really good. I was surrounded by family and friends and supporters and people who I've met along the way who were really like present with the fact that this is something that I dreamed of doing for a long time. So that was really amazing. And then like my mom was in the room and one of her closest friends was a teacher of mine was when I was in second grade in Jamaica and she was there.
wow,
Yeah,
that's
it's just
cool.
this like full circle with my children, with the elders, with just my contemporaries, and so it felt really good. I was glad to get that part done too.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such a good feeling. Where does your mom live now?
So my mom lives in Oakland.
Oh,
Yeah, she's a Jamaican transplant. She migrated here in her 30s, first to New York, but then made her way to California, and now she lives in Oakland. She's in the Bay.
awesome. I'll have
Yeah.
to find out all the best places to eat and shop and things for Jamaican products from you.
Yeah, I have, there are definitely a few places that.
There was a restaurant I tried to go to that burned down in San Leandro.
Fingers.
Sweet fingers, yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
so I'm always looking for good Caribbean food.
Yeah, yeah. It can be hard to find it in the Bay, but there's some good places.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, do you want to maybe read a little something from the book,
Sure.
or tell us about? I mean, I guess love, loss, healing is pretty self-explanatory, and it's probably present in most of our writing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I don't know. Tell me about the sort of story that you want this book to tell.
Yeah, no. Thank you. So the book, it's interesting because I think the title is kind of very literal. I came upon kind of a love of my life experience that went away and changed. And so it was the impetus. It was like the thing that created the spark to write the book.
Right.
And what I realized in it, there was a bigger story to tell. And so the book tells a bigger story,
Mhm.
of identity, of, finding out new things about myself through that experience. And so, what is probably most important is that this was my first relationship with a woman. And so, 40 something years old, discovering this part of myself, it became important for me to talk about it for like multiple reasons. Because I recognize in that moment what it's like to feel a kind of fear around a change that isn't socially accepted in certain places. The Bay Area is like not the place that is a huge issue, but in my own family and my own
Well, I
roots.
was going to ask because Jamaica is notoriously
Yeah.
homophobic. Yeah.
So it was like this moment of like, okay, will people still love me? Will people still care about me? People have known me for 20 years. What will they feel? And deciding that that didn't matter actually. And so the book actually explores that as well. It's like this parallel theme is like emerging into new identities and kind of going against even and culture is such a huge force in different countries in particular. And so, there's just a huge move that's connected to religion, that's connected to a lot of things that I'm sure are universal for a lot of people, especially as they've discovered new identities that kind of go against the grain. But that was a huge thing for me writing this book because I thought it was an opportunity to talk about it truthfully and to amplify and hopefully to grow some compassion um, around the human experience and the fact that we're all shifting and changing. And so at one moment we could be in one place and another moment we could be in another place. And what does that mean when, the people you love are faced, and I'm talking about family, your children, society are faced with you changing and you're faced with you changing. And so the book really became kind of more than just about my love story and my healing process. It became like a moment to be like, you know what, I think this is important. I want to talk about it. I'm scared, but I still want to talk about it. And so I did. And so that book release event kind of had like a element of that as well. And
Coming out in several ways.
yeah. And from that came kind of my decision that my life is about love, liberation, and compassion, and that everything that I do is about love, liberation, compassion, and growing that in the world. So this book, I hope and really think grows that, because if you are open to reading the story, I think even my friend Sekou Andrews, who did the foreword, highlights knowing me across my lifetime and remembering the moment when I was as surprised as he was. And I was like, oh my God, I've met this amazing woman. Like he was like, what? Let me not cross this car. But it was just the way it's kind of articulated, I think, tells a story that's not as obvious in the title, which I think is part of the art to it, is like folding all this together. So honestly, I think it's been a stretch in a lot of ways for me personally, but one that I feel called to.
And how has the reception from family been? How, is it mixed or has it been really supportive?
And the truth is I haven't, as much as this book came out almost a year ago, I haven't done a lot of promotion. And I haven't been like, here, look. No, I've definitely given it to family. All my closest friends and family members are aware. But this is partially why this conversation feels so important to me, is to be able to have that moment, to start the moment of like, I'm just gonna talk about it. And just to give credit to my family, like I have some supportive family. My mom, my dad, my children, my sisters, we're all very loving and accepting, and we're in that boat of we love you no matter what, which was really good. But the truth is there are probably still a lot more family and friends who aren't aware yet, who I haven't had the conversation with, just because it's like it hasn't come up, it hasn't been time. But I'm sure this will get us started.
Mm-hmm.
And some people will surprise me. And some people, I've been surprised along the way pleasantly, where
Right.
people said, "Oh, okay." I'm
Yeah.
oh,
Love is love.
yeah, exactly.
And I think it's always an important story for people to understand that, people fall in love. You fall in love with people you didn't expect you would. You meet people that are amazing, and it might not look like what you thought it was going to, and
Exactly.
that doesn't make it any less real.
Exactly.
Either the good part or the bad part, huh? The
Yeah,
breakup.
absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a little background on the book.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's therapeutic, isn't it? To,
It, yeah.
to like not only write the stuff, but putting the process of editing and putting it together and
Hmm.
figuring out the order of it and stuff like that. Right.
It
I
really is.
I love that part.
Yeah, I mean, and like you want to weave together a story, right? And so,
Hmm.
like, it does matter where this thing is placed or where this poem lands and how it flows with the others. So it was really therapeutic and felt really cathartic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to help you with more promotion this year. I had intended to, and this year has zoomed by, and now we're in this predicament where I think I had just asked you about reading at my reading series, or I
Yeah.
was planning to. I can't remember if I actually did, but that's on hold for a while. But it will happen, hopefully, at
Yeah.
some point. And yeah, I'll get you out and doing some readings and promoting your book.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
I
because there's such a vast writing community here and so many cool people and things to do connected to that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I was part of a writing fellowship this past summer.
Right.
Um, and we, we're a cohort of people. Um, Shout out to the Kearney Street workshops and what they do. But in that fellowship, there's a poet that I know that you know. I think Denna.
Oh, Dana Rod. I
Yeah.
love Dana.
So
Uh-huh.
like what I realized is that there's the community is there and it's
Well,
uh
Kearney Street is Jason
yeah,
Bayani, right? Yeah.
Jason.
I love Jason Bayani. I'm a huge Jason Bayani fan.
Exact.
Make
So
them uncomfortable because I'm always like, you're so good.
it,
But yeah, I've seen readings from Kearney Street and they're always amazing.
yeah, and Denna's fire. She and I had an activity, and I should say we had
Yeah.
an activity. Sorry. So they had an activity and we were together in it and it was just wonderful. We were called up and put out in front of all the other fellows and it was just like
I met Dana Rod through one of my reading series, Moondrop, which is a series that we do by submissions. So we put out a call for submissions, and we don't know who we'll pick to read. And so I got to meet them that way. So I love meeting people like that because it's just like I loved your work first, and then didn't even have a face to put with it, and now I do. And you're awesome. And
yeah,
yeah, I like
exactly.
Dana a lot.
Denna, shout out Denna.
Shout out to Dana Rod for sure, who's come to workshops here too at my house, which I don't really host anymore, but I might get back to.
Yeah, I would love that because
Yeah.
I would because I feel like the thing with writing and the thing even with this book I find is that you're always working on your craft if you're a writer.
Yeah.
You're always like dedicating devoting time to just like tweaking and like getting into the flow more, and that workshop that summer really got me into like and a few before that, but that was really a turning point. And so for me, I'm looking forward to the next book, which will to me be more colorful, more profound, more vibrant, more have more of the art, like because I'm growing and evolving, so I would love to attend
Absolutely. Yeah. And
workshops.
also it helps to have those deadlines. you know, and well, the workshop that I was doing here was a generative workshop. So we actually got together and wrote more than critiquing each other's work, which I like to do in smaller groups because that workshop was big. So we would all write. But when it's a smaller group, I love to do generative work and have prompt writing and stuff. That helps me to produce when I get lazy, which is all the time. So hopefully when we're not sheltering in place, we can get together and do that. I would love that.
I would love that. I would love that.
Do you know Melissa Jones?
I'm not sure.
Well, she's a singer that's amazing and a poet, and she and I sometimes get together to write. So we'll try to put them together.
I know her because that's always fun to be like.
Oh, well, you should because
I'm gonna Google. I'm gonna like look her up and see if I
look her up. She's in 2 bands. She's a singer-songwriter. She's published 2 books of poetry. Just a powerhouse of like energy and creativity and awesomeness.
Yeah, nice.
Speaking of which, what happened with the project you were working on with Hillary Hayes?
Oh, Hillary and I are still creative collaborators. You know, this whole shelter in place thing has just thrown a wrench in so many things.
Right.
We had a retreat planned.
Yeah.
At the end of March that we were going to be doing in Jamaica, and we've had to postpone. And so, but Hillary is one of my like favorite creative collaborators. She and I are on like a path where we're teaching new ideas, we're sharing our creativity. Writing is a vessel for both of us that we use in different ways. And so, you know, she and I are in touch almost every day, but I tell you, that retreat, we were like looking forward to it. And then here comes this global pandemic, just like deciding it wasn't.
When would it have been?
It would have been March. Well, actually, we would have gotten there in March, but it'd been like April 1st through April 6th for the dates.
And can you explain to people who didn't hear the first episode what that was?
Yeah, so, well, I'll say this. The connection is Hillary's been doing some amazing abundance and activism work that she's continuing. And then she and I met at a Black women's meditation circle years ago that we still are part of. And so we host this facilitate sister circle every first Sunday of the month. So if anyone's interested in attending that, we are open and would love to have new members of the community. But ultimately through meeting there, we just started like gelling and like could see that we had shared interests. And so we birthed, at the time when we interviewed with you, I was supporting Hillary in abundance and activism, her work in that way. And then we came up with this new idea of expanded being. It's the expanded being retreat. And so the idea is for each person who would attend is to actualize their best selves, really, you know, their most expansive selves, which is tied, of course, to what Hillary's doing with abundance and activism, and what I do on the other side of that with Souls of Women, which I haven't really even talked about.
No, please do. Please do.
I'm like, oh, so much going on sometimes.
Yay.
So I have a YouTube channel called Souls of Women Media, and I started out just telling stories of resilience, of healing, and art and creativity. So the first 3 women that I interviewed were all activists, artists, or real spiritual practitioners almost. And so most recently I relaunched with a series called Soul Centered Conversations, which again is going to focus on the everyday spiritual tools and practices we can all fold into our life. So the first one is about forgiveness. And child, how many of us need to forgive ourselves and forgive other people? So I, you know, bring this kind of lens of what work do we need to do as human beings? And that's kind of what I also bring to the partnership with Hillary. And so figuring out what we still need to do and getting that done so that we could be our best selves.
That sounds amazing. I hope that retreat gets rescheduled.
Yeah.
Jamaica too. How nice is that?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I was Yeah, it will happen. It'll get rescheduled.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what I have to keep up here, because sometimes it feels like disappointment, but
Oh,
really,
absolutely. I mean, everybody's feeling very defeated in, small business and activism and everything. It's like because it's so uncertain as to when we can get back to the things that we've worked so hard, right? Worked so hard on. Yeah.
when do we get back to being us?
Well, would you
What
perhaps
we thought.
like to read a poem or two?
I would. I
Or
had
something?
three that I thought about, if and one is really short. So does that work?
That's fine.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So I'll just let's see. So the first poem I'm gonna read is from my chapter on loss. And so this is a really short one. It's called Some Days. Some days, some days I see you, I feel you, we're curled up together, touching, kissing, talking. It is vivid, and I'm taken back to us, when there was such a thing, a construct we created and loved. So that's Some Days, which is like a mighty little poem that like, whew, okay. And then the second one is Goodbye. And when I read this one at the event, I explained that, this goodbye wasn't something that I mourned. It was something that I welcomed. And it just represented a more empowered place to be and to look at loss. And so I wanted to share that one with you all too. So this one's Goodbye. Sometimes no words need be exchanged. We just know, and it's okay. Endings and beginnings flow together sometimes. There's intersectionality in goodbyes. In tears, in silence, in possibilities beyond this, sometimes we sense and feel our ways through. What could have been if only we tried, and perhaps we did. Perhaps we squeezed the last drop out of it. Perhaps there's more. Sometimes we just never know until we leap. So here's my dance with faith. Here's my lift from the ground into the air with legs extended up and forward, saying 20 years is a long ass time to think I loved you and to have meant it most days. Sometimes love requires more, like reality, like letting go and admitting it. In this poem, with these words, just before releasing you, like you were my last breath and I yours. And so that's Goodbye.
I've listened to your voice all day.
Oh, thank you. I think it's part of the gift. Okay, and so this is my final one. And a friend of mine really loves this poem. She says that it reminds her, shout out to my friend Julie Wilson. She says it reminds her that we're never alone. And so this was actually in the healing chapter. And it just is an interesting take on healing, because even when we're healing, sometimes we kind of stumble and we have a moment of a real dark moment. And we need
Sometimes a lot.
and we need someone to come help us. So this is that poem. So this one's called Closure. I'm going to do a ritual for closure, calling on the Orishas, the ancestors, Oshun, Obatala, and my grandmothers to release you. I'll bathe in warm rivers, soak in oranges and honey, then smear my body in red dirt. I'll line my altar with white rum, mezcal, mangoes, and rice and peas, and feed our hunger for you. I'll move my body to the drum, involuntarily almost, as it reverberates tones that sound like my heart breaking. I'm going to call in Grandma Pearl and Dorothy, then Sis and Mammy, and they'll enter this body and soothe the places that need your touch, the places that hold on and clutch so desperately. They'll step in and take over, and I'll let them because it's time. My ancestors know my heartbreak intimately, so we'll swaddle it in mudcloth, drench it in our blood and tears, and set it ablaze. Watching the fire, watching our love burn, inhaling the smoke where tenderness used to be. And I'll step back and release because I know it's time.
Yay. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for sharing.
you're welcome.
Before we go, tell people how to buy the book,
Yes,
where to look for you on your YouTube
yes,
or websites and all those kinds of
all
information.
the things.
All
Okay.
the things.
I have a list. All right, so you can buy my book on my website. It is available at damalirobertson.com. So www.damalirobertson.com. It is also available on amazon.com. So you can look up the title Love, Loss, Healing, and Brawta on Amazon. I prefer you buy it from me, but shout out to Amazon. I'm also found at Souls of Women Media on YouTube. So if you YouTube and just look up Souls of Women Media, you'll find me. And I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I am most active on Instagram. So my Souls of Women account is on Instagram, as my personal account is as well. My Damali Abena, which Abena is my middle name. So I pull those two together. And then, yeah, so I think those are the key places to find me. I dabble in Twitter, but I'm not in the Twitter sphere like that. So
Me
Facebook,
neither.
yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, me too. It just kind of went by me. I didn't really get it.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're here with that.
Yeah. Okay, well, hopefully we'll be working together soon, putting together some readings and things. And I will keep the audience posted when I hear of things coming from you. You should look for, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And yeah, I look very much forward to seeing you when this quarantine is over.
Same here. And thank you for having me, Cassandra.
Absolutely.
I was so grateful that I met you. We connected, and I look forward to continuing to journey together.
Too. Me too. And sorry it took me almost a year, but
That's all
here we are. Um,
right.
I will let you know when the podcast is going to be live. It's on all platforms. And if it's okay with you, I might put the video on YouTube on my channel, but we'll
Yeah.
see. That's
Yeah.
not always, yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.